all winning tactics. But I want to talk about each one of them. And I want to start with the least controversial of those, and that is having a more scalable digital experience. And so I'll start with you. What advancements are you seeing there in the industry? Because we're talking about being more digital, being more scalable. Let's be more specific here. What are people doing there that they maybe didn't do in the past?
Was that Thomas? You wanted to start with Kellie?
Yeah, I'll start with you, Nick, and then I'll go over to Kellie.
Yeah, sounds good. So great. So what we're seeing is that there's digital, as a kind of concept, has evolved a ton, and it's evolved in a couple different ways. Number one is it's evolved from, digital is the thing I do for my small customers when I can't afford to put a CSM on. That's what people used to think, right? Long tail. And actually, we've made this mistake too, drawing a triangle, you put your digital at the bottom and your big customers at the top. And now what you're seeing is, of course, digital is a great way to cost effectively serve your smaller customers. But it's also a great way to augment what your high touch team is doing with your large customers, right? We actually had the CCO of Okta present at one of our events, and he was talking about the fact that like a lot of your large customers over time get disengaged and don't want to interact in a high touch fashion. Frankly, they think they know more than the person at the vendor they're dealing with. Maybe they've been using the solution 10 years. And so digital is a great way to re-engage your dormant large strategic customers, or maybe touch more stakeholders in your customer, things like that. So point number one is digital is not just for small companies. Point number two is digital isn't just about like one tactic, right? So what we find is, when people think of digital, they think of lots of different things. They might start and say, it's about emailing customers or having a self-service website. It's about community. It's about an in-app experience. And we'd argue it's actually all of those things. It's about really thinking of the customer journey and building a way that really fits them and meets them where they are. And so we actually built this model, which basic idea is that, you start out with kind of a little bit more of a passive approach where, you build a self-service portal of some kind, and customers can come in, open a support ticket, look up documentation, maybe connect with other customers in the community. And then you start to have a little bit more of a proactive approach where you're creating maybe more of a digital journey, and you're reaching out to the customer based on behavior, and you're actually like nurturing them content, training videos, connection to other customers. And then eventually that becomes more personalized to like what they're actually going through specifically and where they are and what their goals are, and eventually use AI to make it more predictive. So there's this sort of maturity people are going through where digital is no longer just for small customers. It's no longer just about one channel like sending emails. It's no longer just about blasting them like the traditional marketing approach. It's really using all this incredible technology out there to meet them where they're at, meet them along the side of their journey, and make it personalized to their experience.
And I want to just comment on the first point you're making there around this is no longer for just your smaller customers, because the reality is, and we've been saying this for years to our big enterprise customers, is that there are customers that want to engage in a digital way. They don't want to have to talk to your sales force, right? They don't want to have to always talk to a CSM directly. They want to, we all travel a lot, and you remember the days where you had to talk to an agent to book anything, and now we're all doing it on our mobile app, and I don't think any of us would want to go back, right? And that's an example of that. And so I think more B2B companies really need to lean into that and figure out how they could take friction out of the customer experience by moving some of these capabilities to make them more digital. I think there's huge appetite out there for that. And so Kellie, I'm curious, what do you see here when it comes to the digital experience?
Yeah, and I just want to underscore on what you said just for a second, because I think it's so critical. I think way too many folks, when they think of digital, it's like in conflict with a good experience for the customer. Right. That's how they're internalizing it. But to your point, I think we need to like shift our mindset and understand that in many cases it can be value add. Not to mention your CSMs typically are only engaging with like a few key stakeholders in an account. Digital is the way to amplify that to drive user experience, right? No CSM is going to be able to touch all the users, and users expect personalized experience. Like you go on your Instagram or your Facebook and they already know everything about you, and it's giving you the right content. Like that is the next evolution and iteration of customer success. So to answer your question, the way I would summarize it or synthesize is, I think we're at an inflection point where lots of organizations are opening their eyes and ears to this concept. Like it comes up in 99% of the conversations I'm having. So we are at this pivot of organizations just thinking about it as a sheer long tail strategy for their lowest spend customers to wanting to invest in more of a strategic program that's in support of their larger customer base. Now, I think the next sort of phase of this is helping guide and helping customers understand how to actually execute it. It's still very nascent. So I think a lot of folks are, trying to find even the right resources and skill sets that know how to drive a digital strategy, which is in many cases can be this blended kind of marketer / customer success type person. But if I think about the maturity lens and I reflect back on like the past 5 to 10 years, even at Gainsight, like we've always had a maturity model of customer success. And it's interesting, we've sort of helped step our customers in the industry, like from kind of reactive to proactive to outcomes. And like, so we're up that maturity curve. And now like, I imagine this digital customer success maturity curve is sort of the next evolution that we're going to help step folks through. I think many are kind of moving from reactive to proactive today with some of the self-serve capabilities. What folks don't like, what folks fully haven't, or most organizations aren't progressive yet in, is more of that personalized and predictive phase of it. And I think that there's going to be so much just goodness and exciting things to come from that over the next many, many years. And it's, some of it's technology, right? Having the right technology to do in-app and those types of things. But some of it's just kind of building out the strategy and the plan and getting the organization behind it to go drive.